Welcome back to the Jamie Hart Show. This is, of course, Jamie Hart, and I have with me a guest by the name of Arthur Schaper. Arthur, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jamie. Thanks for having me back again.
My pleasure, and I have you back because, I liked what you had to say. I like how you write. But you wrote two recent columns in townhall.com, one about Maryland's Governor Larry Hogan and the other regarding Illinois' Governor Bruce Rauner, both of whom are Republican and both of whom are standouts. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely.
Why don't you start with Larry Hogan and tell us, the reason I want my listeners to learn about these two governors is that perhaps there's something to learn about how conservative governors, conservative politicians, Republicans should comport themselves to actually succeed both, politically as well as with policy. So why don't you tell me first about Hogan? What's he doing in Maryland?
Larry Hogan he's the son of a congressman. He built together a widespread bipartisan, nonpartisan coalition called Change Maryland. He reached out to Democrats and independents. And he rocked not just the Maryland establishment, but the national conference. Nobody was paying attention to Maryland. People had given up on the old line state as a one-party Democratic stronghold.
Right.
And then Larry Hogan blew out all those expectations. I couldn't believe it when I first learned about it. Right away, I started studying what happened. How did he do this? Well, the previous governor, Martin O'Malley, was nothing but tax and spend, regulate, frustrate. He even taxed the rain. A rain tax was imposed in Maryland.
Can you wait? Let's stop there. I have to ask you about the rain tax. I read that in your article. What is a rain tax?
The rain tax occurs. It required counties in Maryland to mandate to assess higher fees to prevent pollution going into storm drains when there was a heavy rainfall, because the Chesapeake Bay is struggling to maintain its environmental quality, and that's one of Hogan's main campaign agendas is to restore and retain the environmental pristine quality of the Chesapeake Bay. So, but to do it through these mandatory taxes, and not only that, they're cowardly because the legislature didn't enact them directly. The legislature imposed the mandate on the counties to impose them on residents and homeowners. It is an unfair, unjust, overwhelming tax. Hogan campaigned on repealing it, and even Democrats in his legislature, recognizing how unpopular it was, went along and had it repealed.
Well, that's not just with respect to that law, but in general. Is it fair to say that the media and Democrats can't help but to applaud what Hogan's doing?
Absolutely. Larry Hogan has made Maryland a business-friendly state again. He went on a business junket to Asia to introduce business or to invite businesses to invest in Maryland again. And for the first time in 20 years, the Port of Baltimore has established a strong contract with the Maersk Danish shipping line, which is like the largest shipping line in the world.
Right.
They are now bringing shipping back to Maryland, to Baltimore, even after the riots that took place. And Larry Hogan he doesn't pander to the media. He is a strong, stable leader. He's reached out to everybody, but he doesn't compromise. He's focused on specific issues. There are wedge issues that were really good for Republicans nationally, don't work very well in these deep blue states. You have to focus on fiscal issues. But what I love about Larry Hogan is he doesn't kick people who are pro-life or pro-marriage in the face. He refused to be distracted by those issues and focused on very clear-cut problems in which you have people, not only did they want to leave Maryland, Western Maryland wanted to secede from the state. They were so frustrated with Annapolis's big government overreach.
And that movement has now waned in light of his successful leadership, I guess. In fact, he has a litmus test for his new agenda. Is that right? He asks, will this law or action make it easier for families and small businesses to stay in Maryland? That's his litmus test, right?
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like it's working, whatever he's doing. And unfortunately, I guess he's got a serious illness. But how is he doing health-wise?
Oh yeah, he has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's in stage 3. It's aggressive, but he's aggressively fighting back. He's doing well. There's a new hashtag going around Maryland, Hogan Strong. I have a contact of mine in the suburbs of Baltimore. He's a big fan of this. He's a young voter too. Well, he's not even a voter yet, but he's already a Hogan fan.
Yeah.
And I got to say this too. Larry Hogan is a team player. Christie was not a team player. And the prior Republican governor in Maryland, Rob Ehrlich, he was a celebrity. He was really all about himself, but he wasn't building the party as well as the state.
Well, that's why I find it so so compelling is that us conservatives, what we've lost is Reagan's big tent, and I want to bring the big tent back. And it appears that that's exactly what Hogan is doing. Not so much with Bruce Rauner. Tell me about him. The Illinois governor is on the verge of a government shutdown, and I don't know if there's anything he can do to avoid it. But I don't necessarily fault him for standing his ground. Tell me about this governor.
Okay, Bruce Rauner he's a political outsider, an established, successful businessman. He jumped into a four-way primary in 2014. 4 Republicans. He was the only one who didn't take union money. Other Republicans were seen as less damaging or threatening. Democrats tried to even prop them up. Bruce ultimately won the primary. 200 Democrats endorsed him, including liberal Democrats who had worked in the Kennedy administration. Rauner was not afraid to talk about some very hot-button issues. He discussed even reducing the minimum wage back to the federal level. It got a lot of backlash. He had, the PR issue is something everybody has to learn about, but he's talked about getting rid of the government prevailing wage in contracts. He wants redistricting reform, term limits, most importantly, pension reforms. Those are absolutely essential. And Illinois has turned into the Greece on the Mississippi. Their bond rating is the lowest in the country.
Right.
They're worse than California. And the Democratic legislature is still barely supermajority. If every Democrat votes against Rauner's agenda, they can pass it without him. The Democrats are starting to fray. There is widespread unpopularity against the daily Democratic machine from Chicago, which has taken over Springfield. Even Mark Kirk, the U.S. Senator, Republican, by the way, he has recognized SEIU, the Service Employees International Union. They are the biggest threat, the most corrupt union. They have more powerful than the government. That has got to stop, and they recognize it. Rauner is a team player as well. He reaches out to everybody. He's liberal on some issues, but he reached out to conservatives himself and was not afraid to take the hard questions. He answered all of them, but most importantly, he sent the message, I respect you, and I respect that your opinion, even if we don't agree.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah.
A big tent should not be about upending policy or upending even platforms, but about agreeing to disagree on some issues and then pushing that aside and focusing on these big issue, hot button issues. Pension reform, labor reform. This is big. The Chicago Tribune labeled Rauner Scott Walker on steroids. He issued an executive order.
Well, that's what Illinois needs. I mean, if they're the Greece, of the area, I mean, it's an emergency, and they need a Rauner to turn down union money, to say no to corruption, which in essence is what we're talking about here. Because when you take big unions' money, what do? You act as a shill for them, and so I'm just so pleased that Illinois has decided to elect a guy like Rauner, but he's the only Republican gubernatorial candidate to unseat a liberal incumbent in the 2014 elections. Is that right?
Absolutely, that's correct.
Well, impressive guy, and I don't know if he can avoid this government shutdown, but it's good to know that we have somebody of our party in the great state of Illinois, where I went to law school, and I
got to speak to this really quick.
Yeah.
The shutdown has occurred, and from a PR perspective, Rauner's already winning. You've got a lot of people who realize that the Democrats gave him a budget that was $4 billion in deficit. That's not a budget, and he says, "I'm not signing off on this." They wanted to give him a one month reprieve budget. He says, "No, this is what I need. These are the reforms, and I'm not giving in." And Rauner has done a credible job standing his ground.
Well, it's true, and politically he's a master, because what he does is he says no, but then the government shutdown he makes clear to the populace is clearly on the backs of the Democrats, who are refusing to play fair, and he communicates that really well. So thanks so much for being on the show, Arthur, again. And I really like your pieces in Town Hall. We'll keep having you on as long as you keep writing, and really I appreciate your hard work.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
All right, take care.